My name is Kaylynn Daniel. I am a junior at South, and I am a double BFA in printmaking and art history. And this show is a product of my SURF program project, which is a summer program for undergrad research. So it trains you to do that. Wish I could explain that more. And I kind of was tasked with, after many trials and error, to basically explore the four main processes of printmaking, which are relief, intaglio, lithography, and screen printing. And I got to study the history and process of how each was done and everything. So that, where did I go? I kind of blanked. Okay.
Just move forward.
I guess first I could start off with the image because it's not going to make no sense if you just see the same four images twice. The reason I did the four images is because what actually happened was halfway through my research, I realized that it would be best to show the image, the same image repeated throughout the processes, so you see how the image translates through each medium. And so I had already had the intaglio piece done, and it's done in copper, so to save time I did not want to do another copper piece, so I repeated that image 3 other times. So the first one is relief, and I did it on MDF4, and I had a lot of difficulties with this because it was my first time doing relief. And so, how do I explain relief? So first thing with relief is that the image is done backwards. So you have to am I saying it right? Like completely do it backwards.
You gotta mirror it onto.
Yeah. You draw and carve your image mirrored, and then but you carve directly into the board. And I had a couple fun experimenting, but also difficulties because trying to get detail in the background is very hard. And I'm very detail oriented, but it was a fun experiment because it looks like a lot of German expressionist type ideals, which she shows in my class. But that's what this one is. I feel like I could explain more on it, but
it's the story of the picture itself.
Okay, the story of the picture is originally I did it for the intaglio piece, which historically I found intaglios were being used a lot originally for like satirical type pieces, so I wanted to reference that. And my brain only came up with satire of, first of all, sorry. I did satire because originally too, I was experimenting with iconography and just symbolism and stuff. So I did religion as part of it in modern, so mixing religion and modern. So I was just like, what's satirical about religion and modern? So I just kind of had these angels reading their paper over like drinks or something, and it's the paper they're reading is like people praying for Wi-Fi, because at the time I thought that was like really funny for some odd reason. And so that's basically what this image is just angels reading prayers for Wi-Fi. And I looked up a lot of I want to say William Blake was an etching artist. He did stuff for like Lost Paradise and all that, and I did that and referenced a lot of his stuff. So yeah, I guess that's that for that one. And then there's the etching, which I prefer as a medium because I can get a lot more of my line works. And I like to play with plate tone, which is like the shadowing and stuff. So I did that, and this one's a lot cleaner and like a lot more legible. Yes, that one. I was just like, words. A lot more legible, and you can see my original sketch a lot cleaner, and everything's a bit more done. But this process is done with copper plates and etching and acid. So after I filed down the sides and everything, I and prepared it the way you're supposed to with hard ground and everything. I took basically it's a scribe, but it's a very pointy piece of metal, and drew the image in, and then on the hard ground, which is basically like this tar type material, And once I had that scratched into the tar, I dipped it in acid for around like 40 minutes, and then was able to clean it off after I got it out, and was able to print this. And you also have to do it in a mirrored form, which is nice. And then litho was the next process, and I did this on aluminum plate instead of stone litho, because lithography is usually done on limestone, I believe. And but I chose to do it on an aluminum ballpoint plate because it was a lot quicker and easier to transport. And this process shows directly how I draw, because lithography is the closest to showing your drawing, like drawing by hand. And I over etched it, but it turned out really cool because I got this like really cool tapered off effect, but and these like bubble type deals. But I really like it because it shows more of my hand work. Like the etching shows like direct line work, but this shows more of like my hand and my coloring, I think. And then I have the screen print, which is my favorite because I did this digitally, and then I just printed it out on our special printer. I'm not too sure what our printer's called. Mylar? Okay. I printed it out on Mylar, which acted as a stencil for when I exposed it onto the silk screen. And then I was able just to print this cleanly and neatly and efficiently. And I think that's all I really got. But I did place them in this order because while in printmaking, the processes overlapped each other, especially like relief and intaglio, because they were starting to be discovered at the same time. And China invented the majority of this a lot earlier. They were doing it before Europeans were. But relief came first, and then etching was discovered because they discovered they could carve into things. They could also carve into metal and do that process. And then after a while, lithography came to be, and typography was somewhere in here. But then lithography came to be, and then screen printing is the most modern one. But well, kind of throws everything off. Historically, China was doing screen printing a lot earlier, but in terms of like, I guess, popularity, this one came last. I'm not sure. At the moment, my brain's very blinking. But yeah, I do better if y'all ask questions. I'm not too sure what to.
Which piece did you have the most difficulty with making?
Because when I was printing it, truth be told, I printed majority of all three of these in one night, which is a fun task if you do printmaking because it's hard just to do one in one night. But I had the most trouble with litho because I over etched it, and when you over etch it, every time I would wipe my sponge across my plate, it would just keep expanding. Like I was turning up the contrast on it, and like the ink was just expanding. So I kind of had to just basically wipe it real quick, throw my paper on it, and run it through the press. And then I had the wrong press setting, so it ate one of my pieces of paper. So this was.
So is that how you got that tapered edge?
Yeah, this was the best one out of the edition, but the tapered edge was also because I didn't realize until the next day that my bar that puts the pressure on the paper when you run it through the press was too small. Because I was just like, oh, it's giving a tapered edge, but then me and my mentor looked down at it and we're just like, I was missing like that much, which it wasn't much because this was just black.
Right.
But I did get a like cool like tapered effect on it. So
it gives it almost like a charcoal effect, which is pretty cool. Because people told me it looks like it was done in charcoal.
Yeah, and that's what I love about litho, because litho actually, like, they'll tell you it's the closest one to like pencil drawings. So like unless you know what to look for, it's really hard to tell if it's a pencil drawing or litho. So like if it's a scan, it's really hard to tell which one's which because they're so similar. Because you're drawing with like this waxy type crayon, so you're basically drawing with a crown the whole time. So it's fun. So it's like, imagine just drawing with a crown a very detailed piece, and then imagining it getting very thick or very waxy and like resisting. So I did that.
How many editions did you do for these before you decided on the ones you picked for the show?
Actually, I did less editions for the show than I would during class because I was just running low on time, because I had honestly a bunch of mental and physical health problems come up. So to stop stressing myself, I just kind of did a smaller edition. That one had 3. This one had 2. That's one of the ones. This one had 3, and that one I think actually had 6, because screen printing just went a lot cleaner for me and I wasn't having any difficulties. But I had difficulties with these 3. So the editions, once I got a really, really good one, I just called it a night because I didn't want to keep stressing over it.
So you did 3 of these in one night, or all of them in one night?
This one was already done, and I did the rest of the 3 in like one night.
How many hours, approximately? Like the entire day?
What day do we start? What time do we start? 1:25? 1:25 to 10 o'clock at night. So
Sounds about
9
right.
hours.
Mhm.
So yeah, about 9 hours of my life. But I'm used to doing that, so it just physically, screen printing's the easiest. Relief behind it. Etching is, luckily I got that done early because it takes a lot with the plates, but physically lithos has to be the hardest because you have to like etch your plate so many times and wait 45 minutes in between each one, and you have to keep the plate wet while you're doing it but not too much water, and then you have to roll it up with ink, and then you have to like set it down and your paper down and run it through the press and get it up while still keeping it wet. So
Sounds like a high maintenance job.
it is, especially like if you don't have a partner, because it's a lot easier like if you have like a partner to sit there and do it with you. Because litho's the one.
It was a partner-driven thing, or is
Which
screen
one?
printing like just
Screen
a partner, or like a partner thing,
Not screen printing.
or
Well,
just printing in general that you
Well,
guys
printing, it does help to have a partner because it gets it done a lot more effectively. Because one person can take the paper while you set it up again. You can generally do them all by yourself. Litho, I would suggest people get a partner, just so that way they can keep it wet while you're going off and like rolling it up. Because that's probably also where I was running into some issues. It's because I didn't have a partner. But with screen printing, it's pretty, you just squeegee it through and you're pretty much done. Relief, you just roll it up and then pull it through, and then the same thing with this one, you just cover it ink and scrape all the ink off again and wipe it down with a tissue and run it through. It's just, I'm very meticulous in my etchings because I like playing with plate tone, so.
Yeah.
Very much that.
You mentioned, so with Inteligo, it's like goes through acid?
Mm-hmm.
So you put it through an acid bath. What kind of acid does the print making class use? If you remember, you don't have to.
It's a type of citric.
Okay.
Because basically, like, you can, if it accidentally gets on you, the most you'll do is be stained yellow, but you should just not get it on you, but.
Don't do that.
From accident, I got it. No, it's a citric type of acid, so it's not too strong, but it works pretty good.
It's like if you leave it on yourself for a while, it might hurt you. But
Tangles us a bit. Yeah. Oh, you have questions. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, that's it.